Okay, good evening. Welcome to our October session. Let's call the meeting to order at 7:01 on the PM. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, as you know, September's been really busy for us. We had our beginning of the year diagnostics and our fall sports. We had homecoming early this year, so it's been a really fun month, but a really busy month. So we appreciate everybody that's coming out to all of our activities and events. And I want to thank the administration for all the hard work in the first month. Great job. Okay, we have a few presentations this evening. We're going to start tonight's presentations with Mr. and Mrs. Wincoop, who have been a great partner and a resource through the district, certainly through her work at Patan. I always am calling you for one reason or another. Hey, Kayla, tell me what's going on. What can I do here? So thank you for being so accessible and helpful to me. But she's not here through Patan. She is a parent of two of our Riverview students, Gwen and Ben, and here to present to the board the possibility of a partnership with Biddy and Bo. So she's here to educate our community on to this nationally recognized chain, their mission and their plans for Riverview. Wincoops, you have the floor. No sound. Okay. Okay, well, we will, directly after this, I have this as a backup, so tell them to look on the YouTube page, and as soon as I get into my office, I will upload it, and this backup recording will have sound. So please apologize to anybody who's having difficulty at home. Okay, good. Wonderful. Please, sorry. close to it.
Can't be too close, too far away. So, Mr. McConnell, right?
Yes.
Yeah, McConnell. McConnell, he would be the one kind of leading the kids in it, or would you guys, or who's the? So would it just be Riverview students, or would there be other, like, people in the community that could be a part of it, or could it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That wanted to. Mm-hmm. So, and the employees, like, would they, like, go through, like, a job interview process, and then, like, the pay would be like a minimum wage, or whatever?
Probably the spring.
It's great.
Any other questions? Anyone at home? Any questions for the Wincoops?
This is Leanne. I just wanted to add Biddy and Bose has a fantastic reputation.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you so much. I know your daughter has a, oh, sorry, Steph, you had something?
Oh no, I just wanted to say thank you. I
Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to just post the video right after this. I'll go back to my office and get it up on YouTube as soon as we can. Quest Tech is on the scene, right, Dr. McNally? Quest Tech is going to send an armada of their people to make sure we get this right, so. Anyway, thank you so much for coming and presenting to the board. I really appreciate it. It's an exciting possible partnership for us, so we appreciate you coming. Thank you. Okay. Presentation number 2, Mr. Dan Engen. He's going to discuss the upcoming kitchen renovation and timelines. and providing the board an update this evening. Mr. Engen, let me get your slides up here. Okay. Yeah, you really got to speak into that one. Sorry. So the idea was for Mr. Engen to give sort of a kitchen or this year's projects update for the board. We've asked him to come back in November to continue with our master planning discussions. And Sheila's gonna lay a little, Miss Lubert is going to lay a little groundwork in terms of our current bond situation to provide some framework, some foundation for the discussions that we'll have next week. But we're gonna kind of talk big picture in terms of the next 5 years at Riverview and continuing down that master planning pathway that we've been on for quite some time. Are there any questions for Mr. Engen at this time? Well, remember that the bid came in last year way over budget, so we've asked his team to go in, rework things, and to get into, a range of costs that was more fiscally conservative in terms of the project. Right, yeah. Right.
Point being, it's not a.
Any other questions?
When were we thinking of doing the rear windows? Is it during the school year? Would it cause much disruption?
Other questions? Mr. Engen, thank you for your presentation. We appreciate it. We've been talking about these things for quite some time, so I'm looking to get some of these big ticket items done this summer. So thank you for your oversight of those projects. Thank you. And last but not least, we have your business and finance update by our esteemed Miss Lubert. You're gonna have to turn your microphone on.
You guys have to share. 'Cause
And I'll work through the slides up here so that people at home, when I post, will see it. Okay, let me.
Last year, I gave a finance update, and I moved it around a little bit this year. I added a few other items with regards to bond issues, if the board should so choose to move forward. The finance update for this year, I'm showing our revenues and expenditures. You'll see an update of utilization. The state is shut down, the federal government shut down, but local taxes are being collected. And as you know, the majority of our revenues are local taxes. So of our $20,219,000 worth of local taxes, we've collected at the end of September almost $16.3 million. If you look at the state and the local,
Sorry.
no, the next one, sir.
Mhm.
The state and the federal, you'll see we've only collected a little under $500,000 in state sources. That would be the 50% payment for the property tax rebate. And we also made one of our bond issues earlier this month, and that was our PlanCon subsidy reimbursement of about $186,000. So those are the only two payments we've received to date. Last year at this time, we had probably, in those two sources of revenues, had over $2 million. So if you took a look at the email that I sent the board last week, my concern is, I mean, eventually the state's gonna have to, they're gonna have to disperse funds to us, and hopefully the federal government doesn't go as long as they did in the 18-19 school year, and we can get those funds moving our way. But the interest earnings, right now, interest rates are pretty good. They're better than they were a few years ago at this time. And I have budgeted our interest earnings, $2 million worth, interest on $2 million for, a quarter is considerable when we're earning about 4.4%. We're now at the beach, which is where we all should be. Yes, yes, sir.
When you have year-to-date, we're talking school year-to-date, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, from July 1. Because our real estate taxes start coming in literally a week and a half after July 1. People get their real estate tax bills within the first 10 days of the month. Certainly. You see, I also had listed the expenditures, but that's, purchasing throughout the year, salary, benefits, items that we needed at the beginning of the school year, that teachers need in their classrooms, and so on. I've included a delinquent real estate tax update. I kept with these 5 months to show you our previous delinquent real estate tax collector, where they stood in May of 23 through September of 23 when I started at Riverview. I showed you last year MBM where they were, and what a great job of collecting delinquent taxes they did. And obviously it wasn't being collected properly or as aggressively as MBM Collections is doing it. You'll take a look at the current markings of May 2025 through September of 25, and you'll see it's dropped off a little bit, but I will let you know that in 23-24, we collected a little under $600,000, and to date, in 24-25, MBM collected $818,000. So we're doing a really good job of collecting delinquent taxes, even though this slide might not reflect that in the 25, May of 25 through September of 25. Yes. This next slide, I wanted to show the historical Act 1 index for the past more than a decade. The index has gone anywhere from 2.3 up at the base. And for all of those years, that totals 38.3% that the district could have raised taxes to the index. You look over at our millage, the allowable increase based on the index, and the actual increase that this district approved throughout the years 16-17 through the 25-26 current school year. You'll see that of that actually 34 34 something. I took the 3.5, that includes the 3.5 of this coming year's index. But we've only raised taxes 12.65% over the last decade or more. So I think this district has done a really good job of being fiscally responsible, but I think knowing that prices are going up, knowing that CLR is going down, and I'll get back on my soapbox during the budget season again and explain how, you know, we're not able to collect taxes on a house like we were several years ago when CLR was 86%. Considerations for the 26-27 school year. We have obviously the kitchen remodel that Mr. Ingen just discussed. We have several high school staffing retirements. These are teachers that I'm told will be difficult to replace. Exceptional teachers that are leaving us probably at the end of this year or sometime in the next. So we have to start thinking about those staffing needs moving forward. Our annual curriculum resources continue to increase. It's astronomical how much books are. I getting a $30 book in college, and that's not, I think about the $30 book in college, and then my first accounting book was like $110 in 1990, and that's curriculum. So we're looking at $200,000 annually for resources to educate the students of Riverview. And lots of digital, and I always ask for free stuff, and I always ask for discounts on shipping, and I'm constantly beating salespeople up at the end of the date, you know what I mean? So our healthcare increases continue to go up anywhere between 7 and 12%, and believe it or not, being in the Allegheny County Schools Healthcare Consortium, that's not what other districts that aren't in a self-funded consortium are seeing. They're seeing anywhere from 10 to 30% in increases. There was a district that dropped out of the consortium within the past couple of years, and their increases were close to 30% this year. So even though those 7 and 12% are there, I can tell you that they're not as horrific as schools that aren't in our consortium. Gas and electric continues to go up. I don't know if anybody's seen their gas and electric bill lately. I'm on a budget, so I try not to even look at it. I'm in my 50s, so I like it cool at my house, thank God. But gas and electric is going up, 30% or more. So, and I sit on the Allegheny County, the AIU Gas and Electric Consortium. So I see the numbers coming in. We just locked in for the whole 26 year. So those contracts will be going out to the schools, and it's not pretty, but we can't, it's like gambling with someone else's money. We can't just sit and expect it to come down when it keeps notching up 34 cents per, 38 cents per, it goes down 8 cents and it goes back up 16 cents. So we wanted to lock in because we wanted to be safe and not be not gambling with taxpayer dollars. The Verner windows, obviously, I think Dan had 400,000 to 500,000. I must have taken that number off of an older document, and it was 400 to 480, and obviously master planning continued. Our Act 1 timeline and dates to remember: in January, I will be bringing to the board a resolution pursuant to Section 311 indicating that we will not raise taxes above the index for the 26-27 school year. We have a deadline to adopt the proposed version of the final budget, May 31st, and then June 30th is the deadline to adopt the 26-27 final budget. As Dan was speaking to earlier, we were talking about some capital projects and some pretty large ones in the document he shared. I wanted to give you an outlook of Riverview's current outstanding debt. These are the bond issues that are currently outstanding. This does not include the interest that accrues every year. So you're looking at $20,805,000 at the end of the 23-24 school year. That's as of 6/30/24. Last year, we paid a little over 1.7 million in bond payments and debt service payments. So that brings our principal to a little under 20 million. But including interest, that's still about $27 million over the course of the years. Currently, our outstanding debt takes us through 2044. We'll all be retired, I hope. But that's what we're looking at. At the end of last year, we were at about 28.4 in debt service, in debt.
Ms. Lubert, I have a question. In terms of the bonds that we've taken out, is that a considerable amount, or is that well below,
No.
our borrowing power?
A school's ceiling is normally, you take 3 years of revenues, and it's about 225% of the average of 3 school years of revenues. So this is a very healthy, very low amount in debt for what the district's done with the funds through the years. I think it's been a very fiscally responsible debt issuance for Riverview School District. I know a lot of bigger schools, a lot larger schools that I bet they would struggle to buy a car. They are so ceiling high of debt. I look at our debt and I think this is a really healthy district, which does also show in the next slide. Nope, back, yep. So what I did was I talked to our bond person at PNC Financial. And I wanted her to give us an estimate. Back in July, I did this, and I know I've spoken to the board about it several times. Just to give an idea of if we were to do a bond issue of 6 million, 8 million, or 10 million, that's all bank qualified. So bank qualified means that it would allow those bonds to be callable within 5 years. Non-bank qualified is more than $10 million of debt in a year, and that would bring that callable dollar amount. You'd have to take that out 8 to 10 years. So if interest rates would go down, we would be locked in for a longer period of time. Right now, interest rates are a little higher. The bonds that we currently have really incredible interest rates on them, and while they will be callable and are callable currently, our interest rates are better than what we could go out and repurchase a bond for. So right now, our rates are anywhere between 2% and 3.3%. Those are exceptional rates for bonds. Right now, on our estimates that Alicia gave me back in July, that would have a final maturity of 2047, those all-in rates are about 5.36 and 5.37%. So you can say if we're borrowing money, we're obviously going to pay a little more in interest rates. However, with that bank qualified bond issue, you're able to do a repurchase agreement and roll it to get a lower rate in 5 years. And the way that they structure them, they structure it so it hits your budget with a smaller dollar amount during those 5 years. So you can look at the rates and then do the repurchase and pay less. In my previous district, I was able to do a repurchase agreement for a bond that brought in about $330,000 to the district. We were able to then completely renovate the high school gymnasium with new floor, new seating, new paint, everything. So it was a good thing, and it really didn't. It saved a lot of money in the end, and it allowed us to do what we needed to do to the gymnasium with some construction.
And
So,
and just something with the bonds too, that we have a very good credit rating, so we
Yes.
are getting
So we have, this last reviewed February 5th of 25, we are A+ underlying rating with a AA insured, which I have a little block down below that shows you the Moody's and the S&P ratings. These are exceptional ratings. Sorry, I wanted to get it in there and it kind of shrunk down. So everybody needs to put their glasses on. But obviously, like I said, bank qualified issues no more than 10 million in tax exempt bonds per calendar year and has a 5-year, whereas the NBQs are an 8 to 10 year call feature. I would always recommend staying under that 10 million, unless of course you were building a new facility of some sort. And even then, you could split that out between 2 years. You could do a $10 million bond issue 1 year and get what you needed done, and then you could do a $10 million bond issue the next year, and it would still be bank qualified. Your level debt service, that combines the annual amount of principal and interest consistent over the life of the bond issuance, and the wraparound that ensures that your debt service has minimal budgetary impact. Like you're not going to do a bond issue that gives you a $2.2 million payment, the first 5 years. That would cripple a budget. Dr. English?
I'm going to go back to this slide here. We just wanted, we asked Ms. Lubert to provide this slide so that you have an understanding if we move forward with some of those master planning projects that are, we have some seed money to possibly do it, but it shows you the operational cost impact that it's going to have per year. So
Yes, so the $6 million bond issue would have a budgetary impact annually of about $315,000, whereas the $8 million bond issue would have a budgetary impact of $420,000, which is about $500,000. And then the $10 million bond issue, which has a project proceed of almost $9.4 million, would be $490,000 a year, which is probably closer to 6/10 or 7/10 of a mil. Yes. So this was just some bond structuring considerations. Like I said, bank qualified and non-bank qualified. I obviously would not recommend an NBQ. I don't think with what Mr. Engen has presented, I don't think we need more than 10 million. Plus we have some funds in our capital projects that we would be able to use, as Dr. English said, as seed money, that I think an $8 million bond issue for what's proposed in our capital projects would be more than enough. This is the timeline for financing process. I had Alicia send me over a little bit of a template today. Sorry, it's a little small, but it starts with your financing team. This district historically has always worked with PNC. Alicia has been a great partner to this district. Anytime I reach out to her, she is on it and knows that we're not even close to doing a bond issue right now, but she's always been very helpful. We would go and the board would authorize the transaction. They'd develop bond offering documents. We would develop a financial plan and bond structure, review bond documents, submit those documents to rating agencies, and then I would be involved in the rating agency call meetings to discuss AFRs, to discuss budgets, to discuss fund balances, and then we would receive a finalized statement stating what our new rating was. Now that rating goes out to purchasers of bonds, and we have to post a preliminary official statement. Pre-marketing begins. They price the bonds, and so on and so forth until we do the closing and receive the bond proceeds. So that's kind of the long and skinny of it with regards to a bond process and what we might or might not be looking at down the road. Does anybody have any questions? Comments?
And that is your fall business and finance update. For those at home, once I post this, we will have these documents on the front page. All important financial documents are now on the front page of our district website, and also Ms. Lubert has done a great job of providing business and finance updates to the parents. So those are also included on the front page of our website. Are there any questions regarding Ms. Lubert's presentation?
No questions. That is really loud. No questions, but more so just a comment or an idea. When we post the slides, I think if if we could give just a little bit more detail, either in the comment section where there is on PowerPoint and or like around it. I know typically when we make slides, right, we say don't put on too much too much information, let yourself like present that. But because Ms. Lubert won't be there when people open these documents, it might be helpful, especially on like the slide where it's Riverview estimates of July 2025 project proceeds, to spell that out, what that would be and stuff like that.
Great. Good suggestion.
And then again, no one can come back and say they didn't understand.
Any other questions, comments?
Just a comment on our current bonds that we have. You know, a lot of that over the last 10 years, the previous boards have been, they were really looking at the infrastructure of our buildings, and a lot of that money went towards things that aren't necessarily educational. There are windows, there's roofs, there's air conditioning, there's heating, you know, not a lot of stuff that the kids and our students and our teachers would look at and say, oh, you know, we're updating our programs, we're updating our facilities. But we're at a point now where our buildings are really going to be in good shape and are going to last for a long time. And so the hope now is to look at more of our programming and updating facilities and modernizing some things that, you know, to make Riverview appealing to new families and to want to keep their kids in the district. And so I think, you know, knowing, you know, some of that came from bond issues, but also, you know, financially we have capital funds too that we've been able to update and do things. So pay cash for them, isn't that nice, you know, to pay cash for something. So, but these are bigger projects that we're looking at, and I think it's looking at the whole picture of not just windows and floors and air conditioners, but looking at what's going to be best for the students and the teachers and the education of our kids. So.
Anyone else? Ms. Lubert, thank you for your stewardship of our financial system. We trust you. You've done certainly a great job since you've been here with your oversight of our business and finances, so thank you. Okay, let's move into our first hearing as citizens. This is designated for agenda topics only. If you'd like to speak, please sign in, come to the microphone, state your name and address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Also remember that the board does not typically respond to public comment, but rather takes the hearing into consideration for all future governance. Also remember that all comments and meetings are recorded. Would anyone like to speak in the first hearing of citizens? Going once, going twice. Okay, there's no business and finance motions for your consideration. I guess it's not next week, it's 2 weeks, because next week students have off, and our next board meeting is the 20th, yes, October 20th, so keep that in mind. Let's move into agreements, contracts, and resolutions, starting with your consideration of our annual agreement with Holy Family Specialized Learning. So one of our students is currently attending. We also have for your consideration the agreement with Biddy and Bo's Coffee Cruiser, as we discussed, as the Wincoops discussed with us earlier in the meeting. And finally, we have an agreement with a company for dental services for our students, which we've been really working hard to get in place for months, which is Big Smiles, Pennsylvania. We also have an MOU for vacation days, which I sent out earlier in the week. Are there any comments, questions regarding agreements, contracts, and resolutions? Okay, board governance. You see a litany of policies. This is the work of the current board policy committee. These were analyzed and discussed by both the administration and the board members on that committee. The changes highlighted for your review. I want to continue to thank the policy committee. This will get us through the 600s. We only have a couple series left to go with the goal of having every single policy updated by the end of this year. I think we can do it. It's an audacious goal, but I think we're gonna stick with it. I think we can get through all the policies by the end of the year. So, any questions, comments on those policies listed? Once again, thank you to the policy committee. It is exciting to continue to check policies off the list. Okay, let's move into personnel. Not much in personnel for the 20th. We have a retirement and the consideration of 2 baseball coaches, volunteer coaches for girls basketball and wrestling, and the usual precision teacher subs. Any questions regarding the small list of personnel items for the 20th?
Will we get the resumes for the
Yes,
girls?
that will
girls
be on
wrestling?
the voting agenda like always. Any other questions there? Okay, let's move into student life. We have 2 items for your consideration for student life on the 20th. We have our annual music field trip for April this year. Thank you, Mr. Leibel, for overseeing and organizing that, which is uniquely planned around the other student obligations and organizations in the spring. This item is on the voting portion of tonight's meeting, as well as this item is time sensitive, as Mr. Leibel needs to get out the letter of commitment and family trip information packet tomorrow for collection later this month for that trip in April. This gives them the lead time to ensure the planning and the trip runs smoothly. We also have for your consideration the budgetary outlines for our student activities and booster groups as listed. Any questions here for student life items?
I was just wondering why it was only orchestra and chorus and not band. It's not. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Band and orchestra. Good question. Any other questions? Okay, there's no education items, although there may be an item on the voting session. I want to update the board. We have a rise this year in our ELL population. We're up to double digits in terms of our English language learners. We're currently meeting the guidelines for providing instruction to those students, but we have a creative option with one of our substitutes that just got certified in ESL, and we may have a part-time position for your consideration so we can increase minutes for those students. It would be a 1-year consideration, as we don't exactly know numbers for ESL each year, but that would take care of the influx of those students. So as we gather more information, we may have that for your review in the education section on the 20th. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Any questions there? Cool. Finally, we have our board. We had 3 board meetings in September, and the 8th, 15th, and 23rd, and we have our meeting minutes for those meetings. Are there any edits, additions, or omissions that you would like to alert us to at this time for those minutes? Okay. We now move into the second hearing of citizens, which is designated for all school-related topics. If you would like to speak, please sign in, come to the microphone, state your name and address, and keep your comments, if you don't mind, to 3 minutes or less. Keep in mind that the board does not typically respond to public comment, but rather takes the hearing into consideration for future governance Also, please realize that all comments and meetings are recorded. There will be 2 other hearings in the very short voting portion of our meeting. So, for anyone who doesn't want to speak now, you have 2 more opportunities here in a second. Anyone like to speak in the second hearing? Okay. At this point, without further discussion, we will close the study session and open the brief voting portion of the meeting for this evening, which has exactly 3 items. We have the PSBA election tabled from the last meeting, the MOU that we discussed earlier in this meeting, and the upcoming band trip. Prior to handing this meeting off to our board president, may I have a motion to adjourn the study session? Roger Pagoda.
Paris, second.
Mr. Paris, second. Okay. It's really loud, the mics. I'm sorry. Okay, we will now turn the meeting over to our president, Ms. Wilton, for the voting items for tonight's meeting.
So we'll open this meeting at 8 p.m. And can we have a roll call, please?
She's opening it.
It's okay.
Ms. Chaparro? Ms. Garabay? Mr. Hawk? Mr. Hawk? Ms. Jacobs-Rohan?
Present.
Mr. Paris?
Present.
Mr. Pagoda?
Here.
Mrs. Schutz?
Here.
Ms. Siri? Ms. Wilton?
Here. All right, we have another hearing of citizens. If anybody has anything to say about those topics on our agenda? All right, hearing none. Move to our first motion, 10A, motion to approve the 2025 PSBA officer elections. So I think we're going through these one by one, one at a time, and doing an official vote on them.
There's a roll call for the.
And yeah, for the third one, there's a roll call vote. Okay. So 1, motion to approve and vote for PSBA officers as listed below. Holly Arnold. Do I have a motion?
Make that motion, Schutz.
Make that motion.
Schutz,
Well,
Schutz and then Garabay.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, number 2, motion to approve and vote for PSBA officers as listed below. 2026 Vice President, Matt Vanoy, Sharon City School District. Do I have a motion?
Paris, so moved.
Schutz, second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. All right, motion 3. Motion to approve and vote for PSBA officers as listed below. The 2026-2027 W3 Sectional Advisor, a 2-year term. So I think we're going to do, we'll do a roll call, and you'll state your vote when we do the roll call. So do I have a motion?
Paris, so moved.
Okay. Miss? Second? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Motion to do it. Who are the 2 motions?
Roger.
Okay, sorry, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion?
No, I mean,
Are we,
oh, go ahead, Steph.
sorry, are we voting
Yes, so we will, when we do the roll call, we'll put in who we are voting for.
And
We'll-
Antonio
we'll
is
s-
one of those people.
Yes, we will say the name.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay.
And then I was just going to say really quickly, I appreciate just your consideration for this.
Any other discussion? No? Okay. Okay. We'll do a roll call then. Okay.
Ms. Garbe,
Antonio,
Mr. Hawk,
Eric Meredith,
Ms. Jacobs-Rohan,
Eric Meredith,
Mr. Paris,
Antonio, myself.
Mr. Pagoda,
Eric Meredith.
Mrs. Schutz,
Antonio.
Ms. Wilton.
Eric Meredith.
Four to three. Mr. Yeah.
All right, and then number 4, motion to approve and vote for PSBA officers is listed below. PSBA insurance trustees, a 3-year term. Kathy Swope and Roberta Marcus. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. Schutz.
Second, Pagoda.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay. We will move on. All right, motion 10B, motion to approve board governance items. 1, the memorandum of understanding pertaining to 2526-001 for vacation day usage extension between Riverview School District and Riverview Education Support Professionals Association, RESPA, on behalf of Kurt Davis. Do I have a motion?
Paris, so moved.
Pagoda, second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. And the last one, motion 10C to approve student life items. 1, the Riverview Music Department field trip to Washington DC on Friday, April 17th, 2026 to Sunday, April 19th, 2026. The trip would follow the guidelines as established in the Riverview School District Field Trip Policy number 121, and costs will be split between the Riverview Music Boosters Association and the high school field trip budget. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. Schutz.
Pagoda, second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Motion passes. Okay. We have a final chance for public comment. Anybody wants to come to the microphone? Last chance. Okay, it can be on any item. Okay. Solicitor's report, you got nothing? Okay. All right, and then can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, very good. Adjourn at 8:08.